What will the Habs do without Kirby Dach, and how do you fix the Habs special teams? We'll talk about this and more on Hockey Inside Out. Hello and welcome to another episode of Hockey Inside Out. I am your host, Jessica Rusnak. Joining me this week are the usual suspects. We've got Stu Cowan from the Montreal Gazette. We have former NHLer, Stanley Cup champ, and former assistant coach with the Montreal Canadiens, Rick Green. And we have Andrew Berkshire, program director of Game Over at SDPN Sports. Now, the big news this week with the Montreal Canadiens is the loss of Kirby Dach. He is done for the rest of the regular season. He's got a torn ACL and MCL, and he's going to undergo some knee surgery to repair that. So how big of a loss is this for the Montreal Canadiens? And Andrew, we'll start with you and get your take on Kirby Dach not being in the lineup.
It's a multifaceted loss. Obviously, not having someone to slot aside Juraj Slafkovsky who fits his game. You can do that with Sean Monahan, but I think the fit was better long-term with Kirby Dach just because that's probably a long-term center that you can build chemistry with, right? So that's tough, but runs through the lineup. The depth at center is hurt now significantly. I think the confidence of the group is hurt significantly. For Dach, I just feel terrible for him because I talked to his shooting coach just the other day, actually, and he was talking about how Kirby Dach spent significant time this offseason preparing his body to prevent against injuries, working on stabilizer muscles, his fitness in general to make sure that he had a healthy season. And to lose that immediately must just be devastating. And then you look at the last 2 years, all the injuries this group has dealt with to deal with it right away. I think you saw the last game how much that hurt their confidence.
Injuries have been a problem with him for going back to junior when he was captain of the World Junior team and he broke his hand, and that led to him having problems in Chicago when he broke into the NHL, and then his season was cut short last year with an injury, and now this one on the hit from Tenorti. His leg sort of got caught a little bit under him, but it's hard to believe that hit blew out his ACL and his MCL. As Andrew said, I mean, I can't imagine, never mind the physical pain, but the mental toll this is going to take on him. You work all off season to get ready for the season. You're being counted on. There's people even talking about him possibly being the number one center moving forward ahead of Nick Suzuki. And then 2 games into the season, this happened. So this is a huge blow to the team, a huge blow to him. He's one of the biggest pieces in this rebuilding plan that Kent Hughes has in place. And this one's going to be really hard, as Andrew said. I mean, this affects him on the power play. This affects him on how they set up their lines. Alex Newhook now has to go back to center after having played on the wing. It eliminates the possibility of playing Kirby Dach with Caulfield and Suzuki at points, which they worked well together last season. So this is a really big blow. And then you add in Caden Gooley injuring his shoulder. We don't know what the prognosis is going to be on him. So this is a really, really tough start for the Canadiens. And, you can't blame Graham Reinbend now. It's not. This is just their hockey injuries. These things happen. It's not to do with the training staff. 2 games in, and guys are already falling. And Emil Heineman in Laval, he's out also with an upper body injury. So just it's like here we go again type of thing when it comes to injuries with the Canadiens.
Reinbacher in his Switzerland team as well is injured.
Mm-hmm.
Hurt his knee.
As the guys mentioned, I feel terrible for the kid. I mean, here's a guy that is such a critical part of their rebuild, if you will, and he's snake bit again with major injury, and he's a piece that's not easily replaced with what he brings to the line, let alone the team. And this is going to hurt, in the long run. But listen, injuries, as we've seen with this organization the last couple of years, are a huge part of it. And somebody, Dvorak is scheduled to come back the first part of November. Hopefully he'll come back and help in the void there. Not quite the type of player as Kirby is, but it's a shame to see this unfold so early. And he's going to be sorely missed, and they're going to have to find a way to pick up the slack. Guys are going to be given opportunity. Combinations are going to be changed up, obviously, to try to complement each other to get something going and build on what they have. And that's the only way to look at it. It's early in the season, but this does give the opportunity to try some different combinations and give guys maybe a different look with, different line mates, and see if they can find a way to create some offense and, make do with this, this terrible injury that's happened at Kirby.
Yeah,
And
I think you can forgive fans. Sorry, Jess, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, as of right now, Alex Newhook is replacing him, but do you think he has what it takes? Like, what is sort of the permanent solution? Do you think this now comes into management to start looking around the league to see if they can do anything? Or is there someone, from Laval that will be given an opportunity?
I think Newhook is not a long-term center, but for a short stretch, he can fill that role. And it kind of reminds you how far away the Montreal Canadiens are right now from being a truly competitive team. Christian Dvorak will probably slot into I would say, fourth line. I don't think he's ahead of Jake Evans in the depth chart after the last couple of years when he's healthy enough to return, and then they can bring Newhook back to the wing and put Monahan up on the second line. I think that makes the most sense short term. Long term, I think you can forgive Canadiens fans for being really down in the dumps right now. I think looking at this injury to Dach, they have flashbacks to the knee injury that really harmed Alex Galchenyuk's career, the knee injury that really harmed Saku Koivu's career. And like, how many times is a knee injury to a young Canadiens player who's important for the future going to alter the course of the franchise? Andre Markov, of course. But I think, like Andre Markov, Dach plays a very cerebral game where it's a lot about puck control and less about necessarily great speed. And I think because of that, he's going to be fine. I think there's a lot of people who are paranoid right now that Dach's not going to be the same player when he comes back. I think it's going to be a long road to recovery, but I think he'll be okay.
Stu, what about you and your dogs? What
my dogs, I think someone must have knocked on the door. My apologies for that. With Dvorak, though, I think he's the guy that once he comes back, he's going to go into that role. And as Andrew mentioned, they'll move Newhook back to the wing. So it's a thing also, not only you get that news, and then the Canadiens just play a stinker of a game. I mean, they had, 5 shots on goal halfway through the game. It was just, there was no spark there. After the game, players were asked if the loss of Dach had an impact on them mentally getting ready for the game. They said no, but I think it did. I mean, I think they're as down as I think as the fan base and they're a good friend too. These guys are all buddies and they're a tight knit group. And then you find out one of your friends is out for the whole season because of this. It's just a devastating blow.
I mean, look at 3 games into it, Newhook at center. Let's give it some time. Let them see where this goes. And if it doesn't work out and the guys are not gelling as line mates, and they can switch it up. But it's early. It's unfortunate that we're seeing some key injuries happening at this point. But this is a group they have. They maybe can change up a little bit with some help from Laval. I don't know. It's going to have to come internally. I don't foresee them trying to jump into the market to replace a Kirby Dach some way. I think they're going to try and stay on the path of developing what they have within the organization and give some kids some opportunity to show what they can show.
And the other big topic people are talking about, special teams. Absolutely awful, especially that first period against Minnesota, allowing 2 shorthanded goals. I don't remember the last game I saw that happen. And then the rest, on the power play for Minnesota. But what do they do? What does this team do? Is it Alex Burrows who gets the finger pointed at him? How do they fix this? Rick, why don't we start with you and get your thoughts on it?
Believe me, being there a number of times and scratching your head as a group, trying to figure out, okay, what do we try next? Where do we go with this? How do we, resolve some of the problem areas that we're having? And it's really tough. And again, you can give kind of a plan of what you'd like to see happening. Then it's an execution on the part of their personnel. And right now, that's not happening. And for whatever reason, power play or penalty killing, they're very, very passive and nonchalant in a lot of their execution. And it looks like they're not really wanting to get involved and make the difference. And that goes also with, even though their 5-on-5 play is supposedly half decent, I really am not happy to see the type of intensity that these guys are showing. And yeah, they're frustrated, but you have to get through that frustration and make the difference by showing that you really are concerned about what's going on. I don't see a lot of the guys in their special teams playing. And, we used to always say, you got to be desperate. You got to be desperate on the power play. You got to be desperate on killing penalties. And I don't see any desperation yet. And nothing, no matter what you draw up and with the X's and O's, is going to happen unless you got the guys that really want to go that second and third effort to make the difference between, not getting the job done and getting the job done. And there's a lot of work. There's a lot of discussion. Pointing the finger at certain individuals is always, comes into the picture. But the bottom line here is they've been given some information. Now it's time for them to execute with desperation and not just be so passive and have the approach that maybe next shift, because it's not working.
Yeah, what I'm seeing on the power play right now is instead of desperation, we're seeing impatience and forcing things, right? It's not even a lack of creativity. To me, like, if you watch the game against Minnesota over again and you pay attention on the power play specifically, you'll see a lot of attempted passes through the middle of the ice, which is good. But the problem is, in order to get those passes through the middle, you actually have to work the puck around quickly to force the opposing penalty kill to react and move out of position. And they did not do that. They weren't capable of getting that done against the Minnesota Wild. The Wild were incredible at getting sticks in lanes. And what we ended up seeing was tons of intercepted passes and then odd man rushes the other way. Attack off the rush, attack off the rush, attack off the rush. The whole game was like that. They had no answer for Minnesota's structure defensively. And that's something that's going to have to change. I think I can forgive the down in the dumps play against Minnesota after learning that Kirby Dach is out for the year. I get that from just a human standpoint, that a lot of those guys are really good friends. It's a really tight-knit group. It's devastating. Harkens back to memories of last year, right? Nick Suzuki's got to be thinking, okay, how long until I'm the only center in the lineup again?
Yeah.
It's got to be hard. But if they don't improve their execution and those little details in the next couple of games, then it becomes a trend and you're starting to worry about losing that vibe in the room that's been so successful despite all these trials under Marty St. Louis' coaching, that there's somehow still some level of happiness in that room, despite the fact that they're having losing seasons. So if we get going to the point where that's not there, that's troubling.
And you look at the way Minnesota moved the puck around on the power play compared to the Canadiens. It's sort of a night and day type of thing. But the lack of desperation resulted in the two shorthanded goals. They were just sort of standing around, and Minnesota took advantage of them. And you think, the Canadiens have one power play goal in 11 chances this season, and they gave up two shorthanded goals on one power play. That's unthinkable. It's inexcusable. And, finger gets pointed at Alex Burrows, but, you watch the Canadiens work on the practice and the power play in practice, and Marty St. Louis out there, the main sort of guy running it. And so they're all involved as a coaching staff, as Rick knows from having been part of the coaching staff. So you can point the finger at one guy, but as a group, we watch that drop pass to Suzuki over and over and over again coming up the ice. It's so predictable. Every team does that thing in the NHL, but it might be a good time to bring in just a fresh set of eyes as another coach, if they can, to take a look and see if he can come up with some fresh ideas to do something different, because what they're trying now just doesn't work. And to give up two shorthanded goals, the game was over then. They gave up two shorthanded goals. That was the end of the game. That's inexcusable for that to happen.
And, you talk about being predictable. Once they get in the zone, Minnesota were very effective with their sticks because Montreal is predictable. Everybody knows that cross-ice pass is happening, or the little give and go play from the middle of the slot area. And this, as an old penalty killer, this is like, okay, I know what's happening before it's even happening, and I can be usually pretty effective on it by anticipating what to expect. And until they change that up a little bit, and again, it might seem like something very simple, but shots from the point that get through with traffic is the toughest for penalty killers to take care of, because you're usually outnumbered in front of the net. But I still don't see much of a threat coming from the blue line as far as shooting the puck goes. Not enough to the point where they keep the opposition off guard, trying to figure out, okay, are they doing this cross-ice play? Are they going to look for Cole over there in the backside? Et cetera, et cetera. So they got to be a little more creative and less predictable, and, cause a little more havoc for the opposition to set up and be effective in their killing.
But isn't
you're right, Rick.
kind of surprising?
Every team knows that Caulfield shot is what they're going for, right? Even their best chance last game was that backdoor pass from Sean Monahan to Caulfield, and Fleury read that before Caulfield even got the puck. So they've got to find
high,
secondary
short side too, right?
shooting options.
Yeah, Fleury on that where Caulfield was going to shoot also that high short side because you could see him come up as he went across and make the save.
And then he got their sticks in that lane. So if it did get through, which it did, obviously on occasion, but they were still quite prepared to say, we're going to make it really tough. It has to be a perfect pass for it to get to Caulfield because we know what he does best. And
but why do you think they're being so predictable? Like, think about it when Alex Burrows was join the Habs coaching staff from Laval. There was all kinds of stories about how when he was in Vancouver, he was, sitting through all the power play meetings. He wanted to become an expert on it. Martin St. Louis, he's got tons of experience playing in the NHL, being a guy who knows how to play on the power play. So they have people who should know how to get it done. But why is it that it seems like they don't have like the right people in place?
Well, I think the root of that is you give it to somebody that is supposed to score goals, and there's no secret to that. You go with the percentages of this is the guy that's supposed to make things happen, and that's what they look for, and that's what they continue to try and use. But if that's not happening, then you got to go to Plan B and say, okay, what else have we got in our bag, and try it because. It's not working.
Well, Rick, you mentioned about getting shots through from the point. That's something Jack Guy is really good at. And I don't think a lot of people want to stand in front of his big blast when he winds up to block it either. So I'm wondering, like, maybe do they try something different, put him on the first unit and give that other shooting option there, and just the way he can, walk the line and then get the puck through. He's very good at it. Maybe try something like that. But they got to start trying different things because you can't just keep doing over and over what they're doing now. It's not working, obviously.
I wouldn't even want to stand in front of Jack Guy's wrist shot. Blowing those through
the net.
You didn't want to get hit with an Al McGinnis shot either, believe me.
Oh, God, no.
I guess not.
Well, maybe some of these guys can pick up some goals on the power play. We are moving on to another rapid fire part of Hockey Inside Out, and we want to know your goal prediction for these players, over, under. So Rafaël Harvey-Pinard, over, under 15 goals this season. Andrew, take us away.
I'm going to say over. You see the injuries already taking hold. It gives more opportunity for Harvey-Pinard. He didn't complain when he was started out on the fourth line, despite, finishing last year on the first line and back on the first line in game 3. I think that line is going to get a chance to continue together. I think he fits better there than Josh Anderson, and I think he fits better on the power play as well. I think he's a much more intelligent player than people gave him credit for breaking into the NHL. He's a very confident puck mover, decent passer, and his shot is pretty strong. His ability to get it off quickly on bang plays. I think Rafaël Harvey-Pinard is going to settle into the bumper spot on the power play in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, he had 14 in 34 games last year, so I think he'll get more than 15. Can he get 20? I'm not sure, but as Andrew said, if he's on the power play and playing on the number one line like he was against Minnesota, 20 goals is a possibility. So definitely I'll say over.
I'm going to go against the grain here and say under. I mean, I like the kid, good hard worker, and obviously had some success last year, but that's last year. Depending on, who they play him with is going to be a big factor as far as his productivity goes. But, I don't foresee him having the type of year that he had last year. And, obviously time will tell, but good kid, good hard worker, and shows up to play every night. So, good for him.
Speaking of hard workers, Rick, what about Brendan Gallagher? Over, under 13 goals?
He's going to have a hard time, I think, getting anything, more than the 13 goal mark. Watching him play again early, I don't see him the Brendan Gallagher that we remember him, and unfortunately, I think it's going to be a real struggle for him to find the net, and his body seems to be really really slowed down from what we've seen in previous years.
Yeah, he had 8 goals in 37 games last year, over under 13. Before the season started, I was thinking, okay, Gallagher can come back and score 20. He's healthy, but he's healthy and he hasn't looked great. but he's missed a lot of hockey over the last while. So you're hoping. I spoke with him about it the other day, and he says, once he gets more into the groove, he's thinking his game will come back, the game he used to play. But it's been a tough start for him. The fact he's on the power play, if he stays there, will give him a chance to score more, although the power play has been so bad. I'm not 100% certain about that. So I'm going to say barely over, like 15.
Yeah, I thought he would score around 15 coming into the season. I wasn't... I was kind of shocked at how he looked in preseason. The first 2 games of the season, like the Brendan Gallagher of old, seemed to just not be there. But he was one of the few guys against Minnesota who I thought made some plays. He, through his tenacity, he was pushing things the correct way. The problem I see with Gallagher is it seems like every time he has the puck, he's playing with a shovel instead of a hockey stick, right? He's just trying to put the puck into good spaces, which is a good thing, but there's not much precision in his game right now. And for that reason, I think that and health and lack of opportunity, he's not going to be on top lines anymore. I'm going to go under.
Yeah, he had a couple of really good chances on the power play against Minnesota. Fleury made a couple of really good saves on him. So, I mean, we could be sitting here talking about him having 2 goals right now. But that reminds me of last season. At the start of the season, before he got hurt, Gallagher looked good. He was getting lots of chances, but he couldn't score. And maybe it's the same thing again now.
And Stu, what do you think about newcomer Tanner Pearson? How many goals? Over, under 10?
Well, he's got 2 already and 2 sniper shots. A player I didn't really know a whole lot about. I mean, he's been around the NHL for a while, going back to his days on that 70s line with the Kings when they won the Cup. I don't know. Can we say exactly 10? The odds are probably good on that, right? I'm gonna say he hits 10 right on the nose.
I'm gonna say over just 11. I think that his shot coming into the season, there was a lot of speculation that he wouldn't be able to shoot at all because of the wrist injury that he suffered last season. He can shoot the puck. And that's something that a lot of players on this team have kind of struggled with. So if he's going to get more opportunities because he's scoring goals, I think he's going to get over 10, probably around 11, just because, the ebbs and flows of the season. But yeah, I think over.
Yeah. Hey, look at 2, like Stu said, 2 goals already. Good shooter, doesn't have a lot of opportunity to score, but obviously what he does, he's pretty effective. But I don't foresee him, going beyond the 10 mark would be a fair assessment for him in the capacity that he's used and the guys that he'd be playing with.
But really happy for the guy. I mean, it's a guy I didn't know. He thought his career might be over last year, as Andrew mentioned, with that hand. Broke his hand in a game at the Bell Center, had a surgery. There was problems after that surgery. He had 3 or 4 other surgeries, a point he never thought he'd play again. So for him to be able to shoot the puck like that, as much as we were going, wow, I'm sure he was going, wow, also. I mean, 2 sniper shots for his goals. So for him, that'll give him a confidence boost that his hand is okay and he can't shoot the puck again.
Next up is a guy's last name who I butcher all the time, Jesse Ylönen. Did I get it right?
I think that's
right. Perfect. Stu, what do you think of him? Over, under 8?
6 goals in 37 games last year with the Canadiens. Marty St. Louis seems to like him a lot and giving him chances. So I'm going to say over. I think he'll score 10.
Yeah, I agree with you, Stu. I think he's got a wicked shot when he can get into a good shooting position. It's just about learning to add that to his game to get to the right spots. But I think over 10 over 8, for Jesse Ylönen.
Yeah, I'd have to go with the over 8 too. I've been pleasantly surprised with him. I don't mind him at all. I didn't really notice him or pay much attention to him, but when he's on the ice, he's working, and he's got a great shot. He's got speed. He does have hands, and he's going to get the opportunity, I think, as the season unfolds, to play in more situations, and I think we're going to see some good things from him. So, I would go with the over the 8 mark, and 10 might be a fair.
Yeah, he looks to me like a guy who's still a little nervous maybe in the NHL. He's still sort of trying to get his comfort level there. And when he does get that, I think the skill is there. He works hard. So, I think he can get 10.
Next one is the second most popular person to come from Point Claire, me being the first one. Mike Matheson, how many goals for him? Over, under 8. Rick, take us away.
If we can get him on the power play more often and get him to use his shot, he probably can be very effective in getting over the 8 mark. He does have a great shot, and we just got to get him out there to take advantage of using his ability to get the puck through I'll give him over the 8 mark.
I'm going to say exactly 8 for Matheson. I know he scored 8 last year in like half a season, but I think that he's more effective as a initial play creator, where he's like making a move at the line and making a pass or maybe a shot that gets tipped. I think he'll create a lot of offense this year, but it's going to be mostly through him being the primary driver of somebody else's goal.
I see him getting about 12. The fact he's on the power play, and the fact I think he's going to score a couple of goals, at least 3-on-3. I mean, he's a fun player to watch 3-on-3. The way he skates, he's all over the ice. So I think he gets about 12.
Next up, Arber Xhekaj. How many goals? Over, under 5? Andrew, what do you think?
I'm going to say over. His skill development has just come such a long way. I know we talked about Arber Xhekaj a lot last year, earlier in the year, and we were talking about his toughness and what he brings in terms of standing up for his teammates. It's his skills development in that time where he wasn't looking that great. Like, you could tell he could skate, you could tell he could handle the puck, but the decision-making wasn't there. I see the decision-making this year. He has come a long way. This guy is such a hard worker, you can tell. He wants to be the absolute best that he can be. I think with his shot and his trajectory and his development, it's going to be more than 5.
He does have a good shot, and he's not afraid to use it. So I'd like to see the 8-goal mark for him. I'd like to see him on the power play to try and take advantage of his good shot and getting pucks to the net. And he's a real good player, and I think we're going to see some good things from him.
Yeah, he's shown he's not afraid to shoot the puck, and he can really rip it. He's a big, strong guy, and as I mentioned earlier, I wouldn't mind seeing them give him a couple of reps anyway on the first power play unit, just to see if he can give them some of the fresh look and get the puck through and use that big shot also. So I'm going to say more than 5. I think if he gets more time on the power play and he uses that shot more, I can see him getting maybe 10.
All right. Well, the season's still young. Hopefully a lot of these players will be able to get their goals on the power play and help fix that problem. And what do you think? What do you think the Montreal Canadiens need to do to improve their special teams? Leave us what your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to Hockey Inside Out on YouTube. Turn your notification on so you can get all our bonus episodes. And if you want to ask us a question, the panel, leave that in the comments section below as well. And we could discuss it in a bonus section or even in the main show. And don't forget to subscribe to the Gazette's Hockey Inside Out newsletter. Just go to montrealgazette.com/newsletter. And of course, visit montrealgazette.com for all your Habs news. A lot of things to get to here, but I'll eventually get it as the season progresses. Maybe the last show of the year, I'll be able to get it all. I'm your host, Jessica Rusnak from CBC Daybreak, and thanks for joining us once again.